My wife thinks I'm cheating and accuses me of masturbating daily, leading to endless fights. I'm worn out and feel hopeless. It will be a lengthy account, but this is necessary due to the complex circumstances that began years ago, and I feel it is essential to provide ample context for clarity. Nevertheless, I will strive to make it as concise as possible. My wife and I have known each other for approximately 7 years, initially embarking on a long-distance relationship. We communicated frequently via FaceTime, and after spending some time together, we decided to officially start a relationship. Despite still being apart, we maintained daily FaceTime conversations for at least a couple of hours. During this period, she requested that I keep the FaceTime connection active even while I was asleep at night, despite the lights being off and her seeing nothing. I found this peculiar but agreed as it seemed crucial to her. In hindsight, it appears she wanted assurance that I was alone while sleeping, though I did not give it much thought at the time. This was the first indication of her underlying suspicion. Fast forward a few years, after several visits, she moved in with me in my hometown, away from her family. In the meantime, we married. The first year was relatively smooth. However, she often criticized me for spending time with my male friends. Consequently, I limited my social interactions, but even when I went out with friends once a month, it led to substantial arguments. I continued to reason that her feelings might arise from being away from her family and friends, so I sought to be more understanding. For this reason, I further reduced my time with friends to the extent that I would see them only every few months. I believed this arrangement was temporary until she established her own friendships here, and I encouraged her to enroll in school or volunteer to meet new people. Fast forward another year, she began studying and working simultaneously. I believed she was gradually settling in the new town, making friends and socializing. I remained considerate about spending time with my friends, specifically male friends, and I sensed we were moving in a positive direction. I was managing to socialize, though still infrequently, pursuing my studies, working on an exciting project, learning new languages, and maintaining a regular exercise routine. Life was improving from my perspective, and I presumed she felt happier with her new connections at work and school. Occasionally, she would express concerns that bothered me, for example, questioning who I spoke to on the phone for work or expressing doubts about whether I was genuinely going to the office. Yet I dismissed these feelings as typical jealousy. However, less than a year after she began working, her suspicions escalated to an alarming degree. She accused me of infidelity and cheating. Confident in my innocence, I reassured her that she was being irrational and attempted to offer her peace of mind by showing her who I had spoken to on the phone and allowing her to check my messages. During this time, she persuaded me that couples should share each other's passwords for mobile phones, laptops, bank accounts, and more. Consequently, I granted her access to all of these. Occasionally, I noticed her surreptitiously examining my phone, but because I was assured of my fidelity, I would become frustrated with her lack of trust without making a significant issue of it. Nevertheless, being consistently accused of infidelity and feeling as though I were treading on eggshells in her presence overwhelmed me to the point that I ceased exercising, suspended my studies, paused my work for a time, and fell into a deep depression. Everything I had worked for my entire life seemed to be unraveling. I lost my aspiration and purpose, leading me to conclude that seeking professional help was necessary. We then began attending therapy, both separately and as a couple. We disclosed nearly everything to the couple's counselor, finding it a relief to confide in someone. She informed us that invading each other's privacy was unhealthy and urged us not to share our passwords. Additionally, she advised me to avoid defending myself against unfounded accusations, as this would normalize unjust blame. She even mentioned a phenomenon known as the parent-child dynamic, where one partner is treated as a child, leading to control and compliance to prevent conflict. Moreover, she suggested that most of the issues originated from my wife's fears and insecurities, and that she required significantly more sessions than I did. During this period, my wife also accused me of engaging in daily masturbation. At first, I denied it and attempted to prove that I had not, but after consulting with the counselor, who subsequently had discussions with my wife, she recommended a different approach. Each time my wife accused me of masturbation, I should simply agree to eliminate it as an issue. My wife insisted that the act itself did not bother her, but that she believed I was being dishonest. Although I was not lying, I decided to follow the counselor's guidance and affirmed my involvement whenever she inquired. When she would ask for details, I would respond that there was nothing involved, yet she persisted in saying that it was impossible to masturbate without external stimulation and assumed I was watching adult content online. Despite the daily accusations, I tried to trust the counselor's insights. Still, I occasionally succumbed and allowed her to examine my phone when she accused me of infidelity or gave her permission to search my laptop. After around 15 sessions, during one joint session, my wife became angry and dismissed the counselor, claiming she did not understand the situation and refusing to continue the sessions with her, walking out in frustration. To this day, I remain uncertain about the cause, but that marked the last time she communicated with the counselor whom she had initially chosen. From that point, the situation deteriorated further. She persistently accused me of every conceivable offense. One instance involved her claiming I smelled like a woman's perfume, only for her to discover it was my aftershave. On another occasion, she accused me of gifting a hat to a woman, later finding the hat buried under a stack of clothes in our closet. She asserted that I was secretly communicating with another woman when it turned out to be my sister. She alleged I was FaceTiming another woman and even claimed to have security footage from our home's alarm system, which revealed her confusion between the back of my phone and a face. There were countless similar accusations. She developed a theory that I was cheating on her with a married colleague, taking the extreme step of contacting her from my phone. This was not an isolated incident. She reached out to at least one other person, possibly more. Once I discovered this, I attempted to manage the fallout by calling the colleague to clarify that we were experiencing difficulties. However, my wife believed I wanted to discuss things with her to synchronize our stories and insisted I record our conversation if I wanted her to believe me. She convinced me that this was essential for regaining her trust. Regrettably, I went along with her request and recorded the conversation. However, when I shared it with my wife, she again accused me of directing the discussion. A few days later, my wife inundated that colleague with calls, prompting the colleague's husband to contact me about the situation spiraling out of hand. He spoke to us both, assuring my wife that there was nothing inappropriate occurring between his wife and me, a very humiliating situation. I even had to avoid working in the same building as my colleague due to the embarrassment this ordeal caused. During this time, my wife communicated all her thoughts and accusations to everyone in our lives, her family, our neighbors, her friends, even my own parents. This reached a point where my parents began questioning my fidelity. At that juncture, I concluded that the situation would not improve, leading me to decide on divorce. Nevertheless, she once again convinced me that, after countless attempts to catch me in a lie, she now trusted me. Once more, I foolishly believed her. From that point forward, the allegations of infidelity ceased, mainly because I began working predominantly from home to avoid encountering my colleagues amidst the embarrassment. Nonetheless, the accusations regarding masturbation intensified significantly. Every time I touched a tissue, washed my hands, picked up my laptop, or spent a brief moment alone in a room, she would accuse me of masturbating. She would dig through the trash for evidence. She would secretly record audio or video while leaving the room or the house. She would even request sex whenever she suspected I had masturbated, attempting to ascertain if I was physically capable of intimacy or had recently emptied myself. This led to sex becoming more of a burden than an experience to enjoy, as I recognized it was primarily a means of her control. At one point, she would not leave the house without having sex with me and would insist on it upon her return. Refusing her would result in accusations of my having masturbated. Consequently, sex lost its allure and became a tool of manipulation. To this day, there are occasional days when everything seems to go well, provided we have daily sex. However, after a few days, her behavior shifts dramatically. For instance, today, while we were in bed and she stepped out to get coffee, she returned, within 10 minutes, to accuse me of masturbating while she was outside the room simply because she heard me using the bathroom, leading to a massive argument. At this stage, I harbor little hope for improvement. It appears that every time I endeavor to regain control of my life with work, exercise, and mental well-being, she swiftly pulls me back into depression. I have lost all ambition and purpose. Some days I struggle to leave my bed, and the most troubling aspect is that I feel she derives some satisfaction from seeing me in such a defeated state. I care for her deeply, but I cannot continue in this manner. I suspect she is grappling with her inner turmoil, yet despite my relentless attempts to assist her, nothing has worked. I am aware that roughly 10 years ago, she discovered her father had cheated on her mother, which likely plays a role in her behavior. We have discussed this extensively with the counselor, between ourselves, and even her father has spoken to her, admitting he made a mistake all those years ago and urging her not to ruin her life over it. Additionally, her brother-in-law had a porn addiction that caused problems between him and her sister, which may also contribute to her issues. However, after years of attempting to guide her away from these thoughts, I am now entirely disheartened. I even suspect her sisters, mother, or friends are influencing her mindset. Is there anything I can do? This ordeal has stretched on for so long that I feel entirely lost and utterly exhausted, staring into the mirror and seeing a broken man whom I can hardly recognize with no reason to carry on. Summary: my wife lacks trust in me and continually claims I am engaging in masturbation, despite my innocence, seizing every opportunity to voice her accusations. However, my detailed account explains why this has become such a critical issue.